Two major events have kicked off in The Hague. The G7 gathering is focusing on the Ukrainian crisis, while a key security summit is aiming to reduce the world's nuclear weapons supplies. In the course of the meeting, Sergei Lavrov met with his American counterpart to discuss the situation in Ukraine, later giving a news conference on the results of the talk. RT's Igor Piskunov joins me now live. Igor, so what did the Russian foreign minister have to say? There was quite a lot that he had to say at that press service. Share some of his thoughts with us, please.
Right. Well, first of all, this forum right now is taking place amid an incredible amount of speculation in global media of Russia being isolated by the West, kicked out of some of the key international organizations. The speculation has even reached a point when some have been saying that President Putin was not invited to take part in this summit in The Hague because of Russia's latest policies. And even though this is a nuclear security summit, because of all the speculation, a lot of attention was focused on the situation around Russia, Ukraine, and the West. And one of the highlights, surely, of Monday was having the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov come out at the end of the day and comment on lots of these rumors. Specifically, according to Mr. Lavrov, President Putin did not plan to come to take part in this forum. Initially, he said this decision was made around 6 months ago due to other reasons, and obviously prior to all of the latest recent events in Ukraine. He also talked about the rumors of Russia being kicked out of the G8, saying Moscow will not hang on to this organization since the G20 has long become a much more effective format.
If our Western partners believe the G8 format has no future, let it be so. We're not clinging to that format, and don't see it as a tragedy if the summit is cancelled. As an experiment, we can wait a year or a year and a half to see what comes out of it.
Now, another highlight of the day was Lavrov's meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, the first meeting between the two diplomats since the referendum in the Crimea, when it seceded from Ukraine and reunified with Russia. And even though clearly Moscow and Washington are ultimately but they have ultimately different views on the crisis in Ukraine. This meeting has shown that the two countries are still pretty much on the same page when it comes to the key issues. For instance, both agree that the right-wing radicals, which are still armed there, need to put their weapons down, and Ukraine needs to conduct a constitutional reform. Another highlight was Lavrov's meeting with the Ukrainian foreign minister, the new Ukrainian foreign minister, also the first one since the uprising in Kiev. And the foreign minister was asked the question whether this means that Moscow recognizes the legitimacy of the new authorities in Kiev, and it was not confirmed by Mr. Lavrov. In fact, he said Moscow is simply interested in keeping contact with Ukraine. So even though clearly there's lots of tension, lots of perhaps misunderstanding and completely opposite views on some matters right now between Russia and the West, to talk about any sort of ultimate isolation right now is irrelevant at this point of time.
Igor Piskunov, following that summit in The Hague for RT.